Okay. They can hear us now, and also welcome to hear everyone who isn't here or is here, I guess, or whatever. Um, yeah.
Both is
So,
good.
yeah. This is like a interview series I'm doing where we try to just talk about RP and the theory behind it, and like people and also the stories that they had in the previous season or two or three, as we will be doing because I got a lot of questions for you. Um,
Hmm.
First off, though, you are one of the people that I had planned to talk to last time, and then I flaked, so I apologize. That's my bad.
No apology necessary. This is a pretty informal thing. I
Yeah,
didn't, it was. I was off that day. It was, so it was not a big. I mean, I regret not being able to talk to you, but
yeah.
we're doing it now, so it's all good.
We're doing it now. So, speaking of that, you are one of the very few people. In fact, you're the only person that for this one I didn't write anything down. I have a bunch of questions that I ask all of the people because they're like sort of I'm doing this for a reason. Like I have a goal. But I didn't write anything down because from the previous time I was going to um, talk to you, I have dozens and dozens of questions that I had for you specifically, that I never got to because you are super important to me, even if you don't know it. Um,
Oh, okay. This is
yeah,
interesting. All
yeah,
right.
because you're the only person I've ever met in the game on two different characters in the same season.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
Yeah.
so you're one of
Well, Randall,
yeah,
and then Boxster.
right. You're one of the very few people who met Randall at all, but you're the only person that I met as both of them. Um, and I think that that's so important because, like, I did Randall, I played Randall, I permed Randall, and I had never done any of that in this form before. And then I came back as Boxster and had all these trials and tribulations, and you still existed, and you were like proof that it like it's like super real. You know what I mean? That's how it felt to me anyway. So yeah,
Um, yeah, I look back on the season one, chapters 1 and 2, and it almost feels this is gonna sound cheesy, maybe sappy, but it almost feels like I lived another life. It was an epic kind of adventure for me. So many different things happened, met so many people. Season two, or the last season there, not so much, but I still had a lot of fun. And but that season one was pretty crazy.
yeah, I agree. Um, but anyway, this is questions about you and stuff. So um, how did you make Tom fun and also slick? Because I do want to know about that also.
So Tom Fun kind of came about because in season one, I never got into one PvP ship battle. Not a single one. I went through the whole
Yeah.
2 chapters without being in a fight. So I was like, I want to go join the Navy. I don't want to do trade. I want to kind of experience these PvP ship battle stuff. And so I kind of generated a character and a story to that followed going into the Navy.
Okay.
Um, Deckfoot was for I hate the name Slick Deckfoot. It was a terrible idea, but that was the first time I had ever RP'd.
Okay.
And so I just, it was throwing it together. I had no idea what I was getting into. I basically was playing official on the late shift academy for about 2 weeks before that whole thing fell apart.
Hmm.
And on the Discord, some people were like, "We're gonna go try this RP," and like half the people were like, "Well, RP, there's so many rules." So I was like, "Oh, I don't want to, mess something up and get in there and do something wrong." But I just like, I'll fill out the application and give it a shot. And so the whole character I threw together in a couple hours. and so there wasn't too much thought that went into it. It's I can give you a lot of backstory, but a lot of it was like very superficial stuff
Yeah, I
because I
got you.
really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. Um, when you talk, I kind of can hear Slick. I don't know what Tom Fun sounds like because we never met, but
Yeah, so Tom Fun was supposed to have an English accent because he's coming from England,
yeah.
and I couldn't do it. Every single time I tried to do it, I went right into Deckfoot. It was just like
uh,
I couldn't stop. I wanted to do like a Polish accent or
yeah.
something like that. Like he was a tradesman in England, but I would start and 5 seconds later I'd be right back into Deckfoot. It was, and that it's the voice thing really is kind
Yeah.
of a small point, so that doesn't matter too much.
Well, we've actually talked about voices a lot because our whole crew wound up with voices and accents and things like that. Do you think it's easier to do a certain type of RP, like dramatic RP or emotional RP, if you're just using your regular voice?
Oh, I guess I should say like for me, because like uh, the voice that I use is just kind of a little gravel, and it's not it's not a major accent or identifiable region.
Uh huh.
Certainly, there's people that made an accent is identifies where they're from. An Irish accent, or a Scottish accent, or the sort of dwarvish Scottish accent. It becomes a big part of what they do, and that's great. But for me, it was that I couldn't do the English accent. I just had to let it go real quick, and it
That's
didn't
funny.
matter too much.
Um. So yeah, you've been around, I guess, sort of, for a long time. I assume there are a lot of people who don't know who you are. Um.
Yeah, I kind of for I met so many people in season 1,
Mhm.
and oftentimes the second time I met them, they had no idea who I was. Kind of forgettable, which was absolutely fine. That's actually the kind of person I am in general. I'm pretty introverted, so I don't if I'm gonna make a connection with somebody, it's gonna be a little deeper. I don't make shallow connections with lots of people and try to be memorable. Um, but that's like I got the experience. If they didn't remember me, that's too bad. But there certainly were a number of people that I'm sure do.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like most of the people have like, who is this guy? I was
S-
like, well, I probably met you at some point, but you've forgotten about me.
Slick looked different than pretty much anyone I saw in that set of chapters or the season or whatever it was. Did you do that on purpose?
Uh, it was an actual straight up random gen.
Nice.
Because in the rules, going into it the first time, over on official, everybody's 3 feet tall, really dark skin to hide in the dark. And in the rules for Dark Side, it was you have to be realistic. And then at some point they slipped in the kind of the fantasy type people, and but that's all right. I was so scared that I was going to create something unrealistic, and they'd be like, "Well, you got to get out of here."
Yeah.
So I just hit random, and I was like, "We'll just run with this," and it just kind of worked out. I may have I had an idea like the original idea was going to be a witch doctor, so I may have changed the skin tone to kind of a darker skin tone.
Mhm.
Um, like a I should say more like a witch doctor in a tropical region kind of
Yeah.
a thing, like a Caribbean kind of thing. So I was like that might fit a little bit more, but otherwise, he's not ripped cut, you know,
Nope.
like 90% of the people, and I think that worked out really well because he was he wasn't gonna go after women or try to be charming. He was just there to kind of help people out.
Yeah. Yeah. He's really realistic to me, and like that's so cool. So yeah, I think it's awesome. Even if it was just random and like the voice is just your voice but a little gravelier, it doesn't matter. Like Slick exists to me, in my head, so that's really cool. Um
Oh, thanks.
who so you've been in a lot of companies and you've seen a lot of companies like switch and move and all sorts of weird things, and I guess now the Navy. Um, what do
Yeah.
you well, what sort of characters do you want to surround yourself with? Who do you want to play with when you meet them?
I mean, I'm willing and open to kind of, do anything. I'd say ultimately, I'm not probably going to do well with a violent pirate kind of group, just because we could probably get into that later. But that I just not really who I want to play, kind of a thing. But I'm open to everything. I met so many different people, wide ranging, backgrounds and character types. So I'm very open. I do well in smaller groups, so I had a lot of trouble in the Navy because it was the largest group.
Yeah.
Um, but and many times I can often just do well kind of soloing stuff. I mean, I spent well, so Port Royalty, the first company I was in was started off huge,
Yeah.
and then just slowly bled over chapter one to about 6 people, I think. um, I did, I think, pretty well there. I was pretty shy at first, but I think maybe as I get to know people, it doesn't matter how many are around. I'm comfortable as long as I know them. But as soon as I go to say Boxster's birthday party and I know one person there,
Yeah.
I'm basically gonna be a wallflower. I'm gonna be kind of like, all right, what's going on here? Which is fine. Everybody's having fun, so it all worked out. But
Yeah.
I'd say I'm probably best in a small group.
I I think it was really cool the way you played Slick so I guess unswervingly or unchangingly or whatever. Um because when you came to Boxer's birthday party, actually, you know what? No, when I knew you in Port Royalty, it was pretty like um separate even though we were part of Salty Winch or whatever, right? We were the trade peeps and the front. So when you came to Boxer's birthday party and I was handing out illegal substances, you were the only person who was like, "Nah, I don't need that. I can't take that or whatever." So,
Well, part of that I think is I was planning on going and trying to join the Navy, and so I was like, well, I'm not gonna be able to take that anyway. Um, Deckfoot had a very much I'd say a chaotic good outlook. Like you have to do good in the world, but laws against mythos, laws against you know killing hydras, that's the Navy's made up laws. That's not it doesn't hurt anybody if I go get some mythos or tame a uh, what are they, razor tooth or something like that. So it was I guess chaotic neutral, maybe
yeah.
that's the good term for it.
We are talking about that Port Royalty a year ago. Yeah. We're going way back. um that's the same one. We were both in it. I very briefly in Slick for a while, or I guess a long, long while. um, yeah, I think Slick's one of the few people I meted super hard as Boxster because like we struck up a friendship between our two characters, and then we were like constantly missing each other and stuff, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
man, that sucks. But it was also fun and really funny, it was just so surprising that we couldn't meet in the same way that Preceptor was trying to meet us this season.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a bit meta how much I would have wanted to get back in touch with Boxster, considering our first meeting was pretty random.
Yeah,
However, the weirdest thing about that meeting was, you were like, "I'm looking for a witch,"
yeah,
is what you had said, and the very next day, I went to this other company uh, to meet somebody that I had played with before, and I met a totally new person, and he's describing his life, and he's saying, "Yeah, be careful because my wife might show up, and she's a witch." I was like, "What?"
yeah,
The only two mentions of witch I had ever heard. The next day, but I could not remember for the life of me where you had told me to go. You had said, like, I think I asked, I was like, well, if I find info, where should I go? And you
Yeah.
told me. I could not remember. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. Croc sent me on that quest because we were always hanging out together, and he was like, "I'm looking for a witch." I can't do his voice, but anyway, he was like, "I'm looking for a witch," because he was trying to get back to his roots and learn more about himself and stuff. So I didn't have anything to do, and I was like, I mean, I'll look, sure, whatever. And then, yeah, yeah, Port Royalty was huge, and it was beautiful. I didn't have any headaches, but I didn't really leave either. So
It was, I saw some streamers go in and they'd always say the same thing. They'd go like, "Wow, this place is nice looking, but it's a massive headache."
mhm,
It really was generally pretty fine as long as the number of people in the server was low. But as soon as there were like 70 people in a server because a big streamer was coming,
yeah.
the whole thing went to garbage.
um, do you think that sort of
Or
stuff?
maybe
Oh, go ahead.
maybe it was like I don't think the initial servers went up to 100, but it was like if you got about 75% full, whatever the max was.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I was so new. I was like, I didn't even know what to pick up or how to pick it up. So I don't know. Um, I all of my time there was just it was like a month, and I was trying to figure out the game, and so I would log in and I would walk around this beautiful town and then like open a door and die, or climb up the cliff and die, or some crazy junk. So yeah,
Yeah, it was. Oh man, the heat was crazy there,
yeah,
and it was really nice. I'm really fortunate that I just happened to like be invited to go there. I'd say ultimately it was kind of a flawed plan because the idea of maybe this is kind of just like a question for people as well if they agree or not, but the idea of having a town where everyone's kind of their own merchant,
yeah,
it's really appealing, but it's so difficult and it's really hard to maintain something like that.
yeah,
And I think I saw some towns in the last season that may have been trying to do that. By the time I saw them, they were ghost towns.
yeah. Yeah, setting up trade ports and stuff. A lot of people try that, but I think unless you have the power of like the Navy, um, to change things and set things up and also be a target, it's super difficult. Yeah. Um, but they had all those shops there, and I saw a ton of people just walk through them and touch all the shops. So
Yeah, and especially in the beginning, we did a fair amount of business, people going through and us just selling a bunch of different things because you could go there and get anything
yeah,
in the beginning. Then just over time, a good portion of people split off to because they wanted to be pirates,
yeah,
and that wasn't ever something we really worked out well. So they split off, and we were still in touch with them and everything. But I think that was Black Flag, and a lot of great RPers there. But when you lose a large portion of people, that's going to take an effect on the town.
hmm man. I'm trying to remember all this stuff, and all I remember is like swimming away from crocodiles and dying to bees and stuff. So yeah, I don't know.
Uh, there was a very beautiful church.
There
That was
was.
um, there was. I mean, to me it was beautiful. I That's
Yeah.
a subjective thing. There was the governor's mansion, which was pretty cool. I thought, and we had a tavern, a restaurant, a cannon shop, blacksmith shop, ship area,
Here's the
and
thing. Here's the thing. Okay, so I joined the company, right? Because I was brand new, and one of the Salty Winch leaders said, "Hey, come join us. We have a small like front town, right?" So I join and I go over there. I'm I'm like getting the tour, and you guys told me that the governor's mansion had been closed because it was haunted because of all this like backstory, right? I was so new that the entire time I was there, I didn't know I could just walk in because I was part of the company.
oh, Well, that I don't know about the governor's mansion because that was it originally was the guy that started the company, so he had the highest admin
Oh,
powers.
okay. I never
Maybe
even
it could
tried
have.
though. Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
yeah. I never tried either. We had a meeting there, and I just assumed everything was unlocked at that time.
Oh man.
Interesting.
Yeah. I remember not trying any of the doors there at all. Um except for like the the infirmary. I spent a lot of time walking out of that because there was a bed in there. Um
Okay.
that's really the only door that I was like, okay, I can do this. And anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
um
We did have we had a shop that Alfa Romeo had set up. They put it in, or we sold it to them. They never stocked it, never did anything with it. But that was kind of like in the beginning, there was so much potential, and they were like, "All right, well, I think they were planning on setting up a front. I don't know what they planned to do with it, but um, that was pretty cool that they had come and tried to set up something."
you know, I can't believe you joined the Navy after all of that stuff because the Navy is terrible and has the biggest uh strain on any server ever. Yeah, and they are not considerate of their neighbors, those jerks.
Oh, okay, I see. Somebody bought some bad mouth. All right.
um so okay, opposite of that. What do you think people do in your now long tenure of playing on the server? What do you think people do to show how much they appreciate you, and what do you do to show people you appreciate the time they put in?
Ooh. I mean, it's probably somewhat verbal. Saying thanks for stuff that always goes a long way. Um, I was maybe going to save this for what would you like to see different, but um, I really like the idea of giving gifts that are not like here's a 200% carbine, like happy birthday, or on a wedding day giving somebody a weapon, but trying to find something that gives some meaning. Um, and I wish you could customize gifts like that. They have no function or anything like that. That's one thing I really wish. Because if you can find something to give somebody that has some value in RP, like a that seems heartwarming or something like that, that's really great. And I don't know if you even cared, but I think I lucked out at your birthday because I just happened to run into a guy at the Navy port
Hmm.
and was like, going to a birthday party. I'd really like to give him like an authentic Navy item. He's like, the best he could do was a deck of cards. But I still like, to me, I thought that was pretty cool. Like
Yeah.
an official Navy deck of cards.
So the leaders of the company or whatever have been giving me these random cards throughout the season before that, and then then you showed up and you were like, "Here's a deck of cards." Um, I was like, "Holy snap!" Like maybe this is something that I should be like going with and stuff. So I told a bunch of people that they were like hand painted, and I was telling them that you could like look at the different faces on all the cards and stuff, even though I never took them out of the package, but it was pretty cool.
I I never opened a deck of cards either. I'm not even sure how it works.
Um, from what I can tell is it opens and there's like all of the cards are in your inventory in like a huge 52 thing or something. I have no idea because I only ever saw like the ace of spades, the ace of clubs. I only saw those, so yeah.
Okay.
I think I
Other
think you had to
oh,
match them or something. I don't know.
Otherwise, I think you've mentioned it that you can just shoot somebody a quick DM or something and
Yeah.
just say that was a great interaction. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Um, Especially when like sometimes things get intense and you're not sure how somebody felt about it. Um, I had that with Billy Benny Bottom. where like we got into it one day, and then afterward, he's like, "Oh, that was great." And I texted him. I was like, "I've never had so much fun in my life. That was amazing."
That's cool.
And it just like it kind of makes your day, kind of makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Um, that's always an option.
So, uh, 11 months and like 18 days ago, I messaged you because I was back in Port Royal as Boxster, and I was like, "Hey, you're great," or something. I don't know, but yeah, that's real cool. I think you should do it, everyone. Again, I know I keep saying it, but go do that stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean it's not gonna hurt, so
oh yeah,
why not?
unless you're like overdoing it. If they're not responding, don't keep talking. Be a human.
Right. Yeah, if they don't respond, well, here's the problem with I didn't respond to a lot of DMs at first
Yeah,
because when I started Darkside, that was the first time I had ever used Discord,
yeah,
and I didn't understand like I didn't see that people were sending me messages.
yeah.
So maybe send two.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, acceptable. Um, yeah. So I also knew Firebane back then. Firebane is like huge to me and stuff. Like that guy's amazing. So yeah, I shout that guy out a
Yeah.
lot, but he's really cool. Yeah,
The amount of stuff he did for Port Royalty to kind of keep RP going. At one point, we merged and then we had to unmerge,
yeah.
and it was like a massive headache. He really, he like once I started seeing him and seeing that he streams, I've been a fan ever since. And he really put a lot of his time into helping other people. That being said, Slick Deckfoot hated his guts.
Oh man, I believe it.
Yeah, hated Benny Bottom. I love Firebane, hated Benny Bottom.
Yeah. I didn't know he was so big and stuff when I spoke to him, and then I figured it out later. But when I met him as Boxster and he was in the Navy, I was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. What do I do with my hands? I'm freaking out. So, I don't. Plus, he has his own big stream. He can say whatever he wants in his own stream. He doesn't need to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and then last season, actually both seasons, he played Kinsley, and being in the Navy, you see that he's getting up, 5 days a week, trying to get people training so they go from cadets to sailors.
Yeah.
That's a lot of effort that he's putting in for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, in many ways, to me, just as like an always MVP
Yeah.
because he's just really great.
What do you think then? Speaking of that, what do you think makes what we're doing different than just like acting out something, or even like um playing Dungeons and Dragons or something? What makes what we're doing so appealing to us?
So yeah, that's a good question, and I'm probably not going to be able to answer it. But when I used to play D&D every Saturday when like high school age, and you I never got into the characters anywhere near as RP, and that's just because you're in the game, you're seeing it through their eyes, I guess. So it's so much more personal. You could play D&D like that, I assume. If you look at Critical Role, if you ever watch that, they're really into those characters.
Yeah.
Um, I never used to play any role playing games like that. So I don't think it forces you, I guess, to be a little more personally invested in how things are going versus just a tabletop game
Hmm.
or tabletop RPG. Um, but it's still kind of just acting, I guess. That's the best I can do to that question.
Yeah. That's cool. Um, I don't think there are like super good answers because we're all playing in the way whatever it is that we play. So, um, there are definitely people out there that play completely differently than we do, and we just can't hang with them. But I mean, they're still there, and they're still part of whatever it is. So cool.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I know, as much as I played in Dungeons and Dragons, I never shed a tear, but multiple times playing Deckfoot, man. Like when I left Strongbridge, it was so hard. I was crying. It was so difficult to leave a company where you had made friends like that. Um, it's so it you get so into it, you can get emotional.
Yeah.
For better or for worse sometimes, really, but um at the end of the day, it's to me it's a lot better.
What do we what or not what? Okay. What do you think we should do now that I've jokingly run a company and now I've actually run a company. Um and you've been in a bunch of different companies. What do you think we should do to make our companies like better and bigger and more inclusive and I don't know, just better?
Um, I can that oh god, I can't answer that question. I can tell you something I saw in the Navy
Yeah.
that I really sowed a lot of bad feelings.
Okay, well, let's
And if
badmouth the
yeah,
Navy. Yeah.
I'll badmouth the Navy. And if you were running a company, this is something that you got to keep in check, which is people make mistakes, people do things wrong, and other people are going to point that out. And it can be very humorous and fun. But once you let people start to needle somebody just over and over and over again for a mistake, it starts to really kind of wear at the fabric of the company. And I saw that a lot in the Navy. Um, that's if you were running a company, you got to keep that, in check.
Yeah, good point. We You know what we were doing, by the way? Um yeah,
Um, I sort of do,
okay.
but there were so many every time I would watch, it was like you were doing something different.
Yeah, isn't that good? I wanted that's another thing that I think really went well with what we were doing. So we created the Schooner Club. I didn't create the Schooner Club. Gob came up with the Schooner Club, but um it was this like organization where you could be a member of the club as long as you had a schooner and you weren't going to sell us out or anything, but you didn't have to be a part of the company. So people could be doing their own thing and then just stop by to the bar and hang out with us, right? So um what we would do is we would think up these jobs and then we would go run them. But since we were scamming people and lying the whole time, we got to do all sorts of crazy different scenarios like back to back. And each one was different because it was whatever the target was, that's what we were going to do, you know? So, um, man, where did I
Yeah.
start with this?
I don't know where you're going with
Oh,
it.
yeah, yeah, I do.
What?
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, no, no, no. I remember. I'll remember. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was watching and I was like, God, I really kind of wish I was there, kind of a
Yeah.
thing, because it looked like so much fun. It's so I'm not just trying to impress you or whatever, but as well as in season one, there's so many unique things that you've done, and the other people around you has done as well. That I was like, oh man, I wish I was there. I've got a schooner, but I'd have to really met it hard because I
Yeah.
never character knew anything about the schooner club.
Yeah. I agree. We we promoted for other things because we were a shadow organization. I did I did leave things like if I saw a schooner in a port and it looked different than other schooners, I would like leave them a note on a door that said like, "Hey, your schooner's interesting. You can come over and hang out with our schooner club." But it was so rare because we weren't promoting the schooner club because we were liars and shady and we couldn't do that, you know? So,
Yeah,
um
and it also would have been a disaster if I showed up because I left, but I was still very much a Navy guy, so
yeah.
that wouldn't have worked out well.
Well, we did need a Navy contact. We tried to get one in Foster. We had a bunch of stuff planned, but it didn't work out. So it could have been you, but it doesn't matter. So
Nah, I wouldn't have sold the Navy out. One thing I don't understand, and I don't know if you were just doing it on purpose or what, when I would watch you like in the Navy port trying to wear a Navy uniform, did you not just look at their uniform and go, oh, it's different. Like
No,
the
so
parents are like, how did that work?
so what had happened was Foster was in the Navy and left to do some other project or something, but he showed up next to us for 2 days, and we told him there was like a charity leaderboard and he could be on it and stuff. So he donated a bunch of stuff. And then he said, "Hey, I'm going back to the Navy," and I was like, "All right, cool, whatever." So he goes back to the Navy, and like, so what I do, I'm like at work or I'm like at home or whatever, and I'm just like, what can I do? How can I screw people? Like, what's a funny job? And I realized he had given us the clothes off of his own mutes, and they were all the same uniform. So we took those, and I had Jeffrey make a bunch of copies, and then we used those as a privateer uniform, and we went to the Navy in the uniforms he had given us and told him we were privateers and that he needed to give us uniforms from the Navy specifically, and also like a fake letter of marque and stuff. So that was
Okay.
our yeah, that was our uniform for the privateers.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought when I watched, I was like, if you're trying to pretend to be in the Navy, they're gonna see
Yeah.
right away because that's a big thing. At least it was in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the last few weeks, I was watching streams and it was like half the people in the Navy have a different are all wearing different clothes. It was
Yeah.
really weird.
When the only time I pretended to be in the Navy, because that's what we were gonna do. We were gonna take the real Navy uniforms. We were gonna take them out and do port inspections and pull people over, and we were just gonna fake being Navy officials. Um, but Preceptor rolled up while I was waiting in that uniform, and it was really dark, and I was away from everyone else. So since it was red, I told him I was a cadet and I had just joined. And he didn't meta me, and he just kept going, and I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. I mean, as long as if somebody didn't meta it, you could easily get away with that
Yeah.
because there's cadets coming in every day, so you
Yeah.
don't really know
It
who's who.
it had yellow fringe or something and yellow accents instead of the white or something, but yeah, it was real dark. I couldn't even tell what color it was, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, I just joined up, man." He was like, "Cool." Um
Foster, man. Foster was God, that guy was so crazy.
yeah, he's really
I
good. Yeah.
yeah. I met him. He when he was trying to join the Navy. I think he spawned on the Navy island, and so I was walking him over to the trade port so he could sign up. And the whole time, that guy had me laughing so hard. Just everything he was saying.
Yeah.
It was. Oh man, he eventually left the Navy. That was kind of like a really sad kind of moment for me because he was so funny.
Yeah. Well, he left the Navy and then we tried to get him. um so the thing I was thinking of when you talk about punishment, um I think that I've only seen it sort of with the Salty Winch people because of how like strict they were and how hardcore Firebane was about like everyone having their role and stuff. But um I did yell at Jeffrey for saying the wrong name during one of our fake jobs. He said my real name or something, even though we had cover names. Um, and I told Shrimps because like I ragged on him a little bit, but then like it didn't matter to me. But you're right. If we had all kept saying, "Oh, he's bad at this," whatever, then that would have been pretty negative. Um,
Yeah, I assume there's a way to do it in character that everyone's in on it, and that's just fine. But especially in a large group where people don't know each other very well, just like God, like every day, if somebody's telling me about this thing I did wrong last week.
yeah.
It that really kind of gets you down, especially since I made a bunch of mistakes myself, and I got real sick of hearing about it over and over again.
So I do know what we can do. It's an idea that Port Royale or La Royale, excuse me, did, and that I was going to do. I was going to start a scam school to teach these other people how to scam like I was doing it, because I felt like we would go on a job and I would talk and they would just be there, sort of like not running the job with me, and I wanted to be more inclusive. So I thought we can have a school where I teach them, okay, here's how to lie, here's how to keep everything straight, here's how to like get your target to do what you want, and then let them do it and just be the person who stands behind. So do you think that um having some sort of like interaction where everyone is put onto the same page, even if you've made mistakes, um, you think that's something we could do?
Um, well, here's the problem with
Yeah.
that. Not everyone is as outgoing as you.
Well, yeah.
So, um, you know, it it takes a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a certain kind of person to throw a birthday party in Atlas. I could never do that. But there's you could work through it. You could work through it. Um, it's something that could be done.
Well,
But
yeah, I was gonna do it in character so that like Jeffrey, who said my name and I felt said too many details in a job, like I would tell Jeffrey and Folger and Dr. Mom and all these people like, here's how we do it, and then um, I could sort of guide Jeffrey, but I could also guide the rest of the people, and I wouldn't be calling him out. Not that I'm calling him out now. I think it was really funny, but that's
yeah,
just what I
yeah.
was working on. Yeah,
And if I think you mentioned you don't watch Navy streams, but
no,
you can see like Venelis can call somebody out and he can make fun of them, but you can tell he's not doing it to try and break them down or make them feel bad. It's kind of he gets like he's just playing a role with them.
hmm
Um, so like I said, you could do it. It's not bad to correct somebody or to point out somebody did something wrong. What I just don't like though is just like you did this wrong, and then 10 minutes later it's like God, I can't believe that guy screwed that up, and
yeah,
just like God, how many times is this guy gonna screw this up? And it's just like you know what, I'd rather just kind of leave, really.
yeah.
So
Um,
it's
I'm like, so I didn't actually look at them. I'm rereading through my notes from the last time. Um, this is this is a really interesting point past me made. Um, we okay, so there's a player who goes by Percy, and they last season made a bunch of tattoos and a bunch of art, and I don't know how to say their name. It's like Ilva, maybe a very tall person. I don't know. Artist is all I got. Anyway, um, their art was everywhere, and I did not know them. But people would say, "Oh yeah, this person did this art," and then I could walk around and see their art everywhere, right? But to me, they were like minor and sort of like background. You know what I mean? Because we were talking and stuff the whole time, and then I would look over and boom, a painting, but it's not the person. Um, how do you think? How do you think the idea of major and minor characters is played out in RP? Because I know you think of yourself as like a minor-ish character, but I think of you as like a big important character. So yeah,
um well, in the it's kind of going to the Navy. You
yeah,
you can't have all Vens. That's simply just not going to work. Everyone's going to be fighting for mic time. At that point.
yeah,
So you do have these people that are kind of. I think they are generally, streamers of some import. I don't know what how many viewers they have or subs or whatever. But all the captains, I think, streamed. If not, maybe one or two didn't.
yeah.
Um, but they were often the drivers of RP. They're keeping things going on the ships, and uh, I I I mean I consider um, in terms of like Deckfoot's view, Boxster was a major character. I mean, he had the birthday party. I guess you didn't invent painting night. I think I had assumed that you did.
Nope.
But you went out and got all the notices out there for
Yep.
people to go. And there was one other thing. Oh, it was the slumber party.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Sockfest, yeah.
yeah. So you were a very big figure in terms of Deckfoot's life. I guess what I'm saying more is like somebody that's running. If they're not running the company or uh, they're kind of running the ship with a lot of people and entertaining them and trying to get them to interact and everything, but they most of the people on the ship are sort of minor characters, and they're fine with that, and it just sort of all works out. I don't know, I forget where we were going with that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, it was just an idea I guess I was working on because I considered myself more of a minor character. I didn't make painting night. I didn't run Sailor. I just put out all the notices. Um the only reason I had a birthday party was I can't even remember. I had some goal or whatever and it oh, I only had a birthday party to try and find Leaf, the guy that Boxer was mad at. It didn't matter if anyone came or not. But I thought, hey, this is an opportunity to like let people come to an event, so I made it an event, you know what I mean? But um like 2 weeks before that, I had already gotten the information on Leaf I needed and I didn't need to do the birthday anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
so yeah.
it was like all the food was there, the
Yeah.
Tower of Death,
Yeah.
the swings. Everyone I think had a really good time.
Yeah.
Then the grenades came out, but
Yeah, true.
besides that,
Yeah, it was really inspired. Pretty much everything is inspired that I do by someone else, and so Flutter made the Murder Palace, and at the end of the chapter before that, and I met all these people who came to the Murder Palace and tried to get in, and we all like battled and we all had fun and all of that stuff. And then I also went to the Siege games that Lumen hosted, and I wanted more like one-off events because they make it feel real. You can have ladies night every single week, but in between that there's all these like weddings and I don't know. Weddings are the only thing I can think of that people do, right? I just wanted to add to that. Make the world seem more real, you know?
yeah, it adds a lot more dimensions to the game. It's really kind of I really kind of find it odd because like think of a game where you're just playing, it's a linear game and you go to a wedding or whatever. And then think of like, well, you got these two people that are going to profess their love, and then you got the person that's going to officiate the wedding and they're going to give a speech. And I hate weddings in real life and in Atlas
Yeah.
just because I go right into wallflower mode kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they're absolutely beautiful. They are it's absolutely amazing to see all that come together. And it's great. It's I'd be interested in like finding an objective number about how much it improves the game, because it's those things are really great. I missed out on the Murder Palace. I think I was running for my life at the time
Yeah.
when the
Probably.
notice was put out. But yeah, those things are really great. That's why I'm so impressed when people do them, whether it be a wedding, whether it be a birthday party. They're great, and I don't participate very much just because of introversion, but that doesn't mean I can't see how great they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Um I think there's a lot of small time stuff that people do that makes the game feel real too. Um I don't think it has to be like a wedding or whatever. If I've seen a lot of people who are so dedicated to the realism that they will like log in and put their clothes on and then go get some food and then check on the animals and then like fill a trough even though it's already full. Um and they'll just do all these things that you would have to do if you were real, and they're faking them over and over and over again. Like it seems boring to me, but it's so real and it's so cool to watch from like you're walking through the town and you see this person stocking or fixing or cleaning or whatever, and then you walk through again and they're doing it, and it's like you said, it's like real. It adds another layer, and that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of cooks, I think, do that because they're just going in and they're fixing some things up for other people,
Yeah.
and they're putting them in a bag and just like, okay, they're set, for tomorrow. I'm out, kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
they do it over and over and over again. And a lot of times they're really, you can also RP with those people as well. They're there, and if you walk into a town and someone's doing that, you can try and interrupt their cycle a little bit and interact with them. But it is kind of, yeah, it is kind of weird because I know I did that myself a lot, especially when I left the Navy, where I had my own house and own tames, and it's like, okay, I'm logging in, I'm gonna go kill some animals so I can feed the lion, get some berries to feed the bears, and it's like this routine thing, but it's still fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't get boring to me. I don't know. It's
Preceptor
weird.
says he plays NPCs. Um, I think they're the most important. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Like the fact that Slick existed even though my character didn't exist, and then my character existed again or a new one, and Slick still existed. Like that's not just a game, So it doesn't matter if you think you're a background character or you think you're small time, because it's happening everywhere and there's hundreds of them, right? And they're all playing out a different story, and it doesn't matter what their story is, because to the other people it just makes the world. Oh man, it's so good. I can't say it enough. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, one of those things where it is kind of amazing. I didn't have the thing where I had two different characters to meet the same person, but
Yeah.
when we met in season 1, chapter 1, and then so random when we met season 1, chapter 2,
Yeah.
we just happened to be at that Freeport together. Um that was pretty it's pretty amazing to distance yourself from somebody and then to see them again.
Yeah.
That's kind of always a really fun interaction.
Yeah. It's also fun to see what new thing is going to come out of their face when they start talking, because a lot of times I've seen a character and then their next character is nothing like that. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Some people that I know that change characters. Some people kind of seem to play the same character, even though it's like, hey, that guy's a pirate, another pirate. Um,
Uh, got a peg leg,
well,
two peg
yeah.
legs. Nice.
I, I mean, I did watch your stream, so seeing you come up with Pierre, who was significantly different than Boxster.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, that was a hoot. Huh? That every time you do that, man, that was so funny.
Yeah.
Especially when you're seeing you interact with somebody and it's like it's not necessarily a super friendly situation and you do that, you're like, how many times is he going to do that before you shoot him?
Yeah, I just wanted to prove that, you know, there are douchebags and they're lurking, and I don't know. I had some goals, but I had to just play the character as self-absorbed, I guess. So, he did not care.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the only, where you really start to go bad is if you're going around trying to kill people,
Yeah.
because that's sort of, ideally, you're not so attached to your character that if someone comes along and kills you, that you see it as a experience kind of a thing. But you may have goals that you were trying to do or people relying on you. It can really affect, what you're doing. Whereas if you get scammed, it's like you really should kind of, have a good time with that. Like if someone was faking being a cadet at the Navy and you're like, okay, I'm here to buy, 5 plots and here's 10 gold. And you're like, okay, I'll be right back. And you just sail right off. That would be the funniest thing in the world. You're like,
That's what we were gonna do.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
man.
I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be really hard to feel bad that you got scammed in a game like that. Like you're like, you know what? I guess I should be careful just going to a Navy port and
Yeah.
giving somebody gold.
Yeah, we talked about the way that crime sort of has an acceptable like stigma because it's a game of pirates and navy and civilians. So many times the civilians let you do whatever the crime is because they don't want to feel like they've meted you. They don't want you to think, "Oh, they knew I was lying," you know. But at the same time, they're like the rules almost condition them to accept piracy. So, um,
Yeah, I also in many ways I think that's something that where the game or DarksideRP has kind of gone in some wrong directions along these sorts of lines because you can sail like 100,000 metal now somewhere,
mhm,
and it's like if I get stopped by a pirate and I'm sailing 100,000 metal, I'm gonna lose what 5,000 metal if they wanted to take everyone go in and grab some metal. What would I even care?
yeah,
I really don't like kind of that how you can move so much material now. Um, there are interesting things like I guess the undead. It's like they're not just going to take your stuff; they're going to try and get you to sign a contract. And you're like, what is this contract about my soul? Like what? Like that's really cool. But I don't like how like I never did this myself because I don't like the idea of a pirate catching me and taking my stuff. But at the end of the day, I know sometimes I was sailing and a pirate would start trying to catch up to me. This would be season one, and I'd be like, "Do I really care if they care? Like, I got so much stuff on here. It's not like I'm gonna lose anything."
yeah.
But you still want to kind of play into it or whatever. So yeah, what were we like just I just think they should kind of try and fix that. That's a problem I think with the game right now.
I th-
Is yeah.
I think that a lot of times we uh rolled up and we did our job, and I said a lot of things that um were the clues, like whatever island we're from. It's definitely not our island and it's definitely not our company, but if you went there or you talked to those people, they would point you straight at us, right? So those were the kind of hints I was giving, but I honestly think people weren't paying attention because they were waiting for whatever act of piracy was supposed to come, and they never saw it because it was happening in front of them. And I think that if the rules weren't what they were, they would have looked down and they would have seen it and gone, "Oh, wait, hold on. Who are you again? We're not doing this." So I don't know. I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a tough one. Yeah, that's really tough because you want to set up a game where people, the pirates come in and they steal all your stuff and then they sink your ship, which is maybe something that they would actually do, but that's total griefing.
yeah,
So then you get people who are like, I don't really, I am happy to be pirated. Um,
yeah,
and it's like, well, you would never be happy to be pirated, but at
yeah,
the same time, they're not going to grief you. Um, yeah, it kind of takes things away a little bit.
yeah. But at the end of the day, it's a game, so whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. As long as everybody has fun,
yeah.
that's really
Or
matters.
as many people as possible can have fun, because we can't. No one, not everyone can have fun. Somebody's gonna be mad at some point. I think. Sorry,
Well,
everyone.
yeah, statistically, I guess, but you know, the people that are here to have fun, I think everyone who's there to have fun can have fun. Maybe
um,
that's just, maybe that's a little too Pollyannish, but
I, ugh, I never figured out if I should ask or not after the last one that I asked, but without any details and without like going super into it, um, you were super close to the big scandal. Not super close. You were like on the opposite side of the big scandal that sort of wrecked the server. Um,
What? What is this?
yeah, yeah. The whole like Wolf Song issue and stuff, you know, with all the pieces. Um,
Oh,
you joined a company that had like a reputation, I guess. The story wise,
oh, okay,
as being
okay.
like super close to them, but also like a main rival and stuff like that. So my real question for you is, how do you think that something like that affected our community, and um you think we should have done anything or done more for the people who like were right up on it and couldn't shake that stigma?
Um, that's kind of tough because at the time I was in Strongbridge,
Oh,
and I like Deckfoot. You know, when I ended that game, I had all age or not age, whatever the common equipment was.
yeah,
I was never into the gear thing, even though I was at Storywise.
yeah,
I went because an old friend of mine was also working there. You know, it wasn't a gear thing. I know Deckfoot hated Wolfsong, and it had nothing to do with that whole scandal. The thing with Wolfsong was, when you're in Strongbridge, you spend a lot of time on the Navy docks because you're always interacting. They're kind of like the friends, right? Wolfsong would roll in, and there'd be like 6 or 7 of them, and they'd get off the ship, and they'd walk down the docks. And Deckfoot was kind of like you know, hey, how's it going? Like I don't know these people, but hey, how are you doing? And and every single time they'd walk right past you, except once. It was obviously the new guy at the end of the line he goes, "Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?" But every other time it was like they totally ignore you and walk right past you, which is cool. It was really cool that they had that kind of persona to strangers. And then I'd be like, "Well, like who are those people?" And then, "Oh, that's Wolfsong." And I'd be like, "Yeah, what a bunch of jerks, right?" Um, and then there was some really weird stuff that went on. Like I don't really know about the I understand what they did. Somebody had spawned some stuff in. Um, until I got to Storywise, I really never had any understanding of the crafting system and where that was going. I understood, you have a blueprint, you make something, you have a crow on you, it's higher value. But I had no idea where that was going and how kind of I'd say out of control it got. Um, so I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I would say from my perspective, as a community, it was handled, and I don't think there were a lot of people that felt too bad afterwards, or that people were continuing to do something wrong.
yeah.
I think we just said, you know what, we're here to have fun. I got this stuff on me that's suspect. I'm going to get rid of it. Um, but I had so little to do with that of crafting it all.
Yeah.
I didn't even understand the whole system really. So
Me too.
um, yeah, it was yeah. So I think we did well.
Yeah.
I don't. Do you think there were people that had a long, like long after the corrections were made, that kind of felt it was still like really bad for the community, or was really dragging things down?
Yes. Because of the way that because of the way that having something that puts you so far over the power of someone else, um in that power comparison, I don't care about any of that. It doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't really matter to a whole lot of people. But I heard and saw a lot of arguments that made the good point where if you have something that's so much better, then if your ability to use that to make more stuff is higher, than this person who struggled to make the stuff, you're ahead of the game when it comes to making the next thing, right? So if you have something that's spawned that's here, and then you make the next thing up, and you make the next thing up, other people are still at the bottom, still struggling just to make it to where you were given something. So it wasn't just this is all the stuff that was spawned. It was this was all the stuff that was made with everything that was spawned that came from using it and all of that stuff. Like it was super pervasive to the point that we couldn't even see it.
Hmm. That's such. I never really looked at. I never was under the impression that there were a lot of things in the world that were the result of someone spawning an equipment like that. I thought it was, they had made a ship and
Yeah.
they, that ship got sunk and they probably had some weapons and people were supposed to throw those weapons out. I completely agree with the sentiment that the arms race in chapter 2 was out of control, way out of control.
Yeah.
Um, to really, I think, in many ways, the detriment of a lot of fun. Um, I I guess, I didn't think that the wolf song aspect of that, and I shouldn't say the wolf song aspect because I'm sure there were very good people in wolf song. The one person that was spawning stuff, that was a big factor in the overall arms race. I didn't have that impression, but I could easily be wrong because that was so little of what Deckfoot was about.
Yeah. Well, um speaking of that, what do you think and well, okay. So I think that a lot of care and time was put into the mods that were used on the server this season to make everything pretty much everything that isn't PvP more appealing. So what do you like about the mods, or what do you want to see more of?
Um, I love the mods and the work that's gone into the mods, but I think I've watched a lot of the interviews, and I'm going to say some things that may be a little bit different than what other people say.
Okay.
Um, I hate weightless ship parts.
Yeah.
And the reason that I hate weightless ship parts is in season 1, I did so many trade missions, crazy amounts of trade missions. And it was always like, well, I can sail, I can fill this galleon up with at 25%. I'm gonna, if pirates see me, no matter what they're in, I'm gonna get away.
Okay.
I can fill it up to 50%, and now I'm taking some risk.
Uh-huh.
I could fill it up to 75, go for the big score, and really run some risk of getting caught because I'm going to be slower than anybody.
Yeah.
And when they started adding these weightless ship parts, um, I'm also a speed schooner enthusiast
Woo!
myself. I love the speed schooner, but when you have a ship, a a brig filled to the brim with cannons going 17 knots, and you're lucky maybe if you can get your schooner, your speed schooner, maybe 20 knots, it's going to max out right around there. It's wrong. Something has gone wrong. A ship full of cannons should max out probably at about 12 knots. Um, the changes that they made didn't benefit people that appreciated speed for the purpose of safety and trade. All it did was make these giant warships almost as fast as everybody else, and I don't think that was a good idea. You should weigh your risks and benefits, and I think the weightless ship parts are kind of hurt that.
Make cannons heavier.
Cannons
That's funny.
cannons should be so much heavier.
Yeah.
So a cannon, what a regular cannon weighs about 100 pounds, maybe
Yeah.
150. Think about this, right? Because I was kind of just going through this one day. That's about the same weight as 144 eggs. A case of eggs. I used to stock grocery. Any person can lift a case of eggs. That would be in the game the same as you just picking up a cannon. Just a straight yep, there you go. Just lift it. That's not it's not the way it should be. I mean, it's probably because for official, right?
Yeah.
That it's not an RP reason.
That's a good point.
I see Brackus is he makes an excellent point. I'm not that creative of a person. Those speed schooners, they're the Soggy Boy schooners are
Yeah,
so inventive, and that's so great. And I think that it's great, but I regret what I saw as, wow, that brig's almost as fast as a schooner that has nothing on it, and that brig has 12 or 18 cannons.
yeah.
So, um, yeah.
Look at all these eggs. That's
The
funny.
pallets, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
In terms of moving stuff on and off ships, it's good. I know they're abused a little bit. There's nothing you can do about people trying to, win or whatever. Overall, that was pretty cool. Although, again, it gets into like I could move 100,000 metal on this galleon,
yeah,
so I don't care if I get caught. Um, I think they had some downsides to them that we don't focus on as much.
yeah,
But that they're able to go in and do that kind of thing, that's amazing. Really don't wish to take anything away from it because I'm amazed by it.
yeah. I think I think that the mods I think that the mods should be um the baseline, and that baseline should become more refined instead of adding new mods. Um because the game already really crappy, and we get kicked out and we die and like all sorts of things happen, right? So if the mods get super refined and it feels like we're playing a better game, then I think we should add more stuff. Yeah,
It's tough because when they add all that new stuff, it kind of keeps the game alive for someone that's been playing it for years.
yeah, true. Yeah.
All the food and stuff that was pretty cool. Um, I as see, I don't like I didn't like the potions that much, and I didn't like the bandages. I think that takes away from people who are trying to play medics. My old medic side came back, and I was like, like, what do you need me for if you got all these bandages?
I I ate a bandage and didn't even know what it did. And then I finally figured it out once we started fist fighting. Um but it would be cooler if like the med kit that can only be used, I guess, by I don't know, doctors. I don't know how it works because I'm not a doctor, but like if doctors could really use them to heal you and stuff, and if you put them on, it was like a band aid that didn't do a lot of work. I think that would be cool. Like
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
fine tune them, stuff like that. I think would be good.
I think they are, or they did. Like you could use a bunch at once or something like that and heal yourself up real quick, and they did away with it. I think I never actually used a bandage.
There was a timer when I used it, but I was near the end of the season. It was like a 40-second timer or something.
Yeah. And
So
I think it's too much to like expect that it's like, hey, go add all this stuff and make sure it's all perfectly
oh yeah,
balanced in game.
yeah,
That's,
yeah,
I'm
of
glad they
course,
did everything that they did because it added a lot of dimensions. I may not have liked the end result, but I still appreciated what.
yeah. Uh, we need to hold each other accountable all the time. I bite. I mean, that's what we should do. If there's a bunch of people who are just goofing off, or just not goofing off, like breaking the setting, breaking the RP or whatever, I think we should hold them accountable. I don't know. Yeah, and then let it go because we're here for fun. Yeah, exactly. Um, what is another question?
Ooh. What are other questions?
Uh,
Um, I could tell you what I think.
oh yeah.
So I was listening to the interviews.
Hmm.
I kind of got the impression that a lot of people think the Navy should be weaker,
Hmm.
and I have the exact opposite opinion because um, I was under the impression that this last season, the idea was supposed to be that the Navy was the undisputable dominant force, not to be messed with without massive repercussions. And that isn't how things went, and in the end, everybody had fun.
Yeah.
Almost everybody had fun, and that's fine. But there were a lot of missed opportunities, and I think that going forward, things like the planned trips where a Navy ship goes out to meet people for like a week, none of that is going to work if the pirate groups are just as strong as the Navy.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the Navy should be much stronger.
I think I actually agree. Um, we badmouth the Navy a lot, but that's because we need like a figure to band together against, right? And it's hard to say pirates because some of us like some pirates and some of us are pirates and whatever. But um, it's easy to take on the word Navy, you know. But I have always considered the Navy to be pretty powerful, and then people would tell me stories like, "Yeah, there's a bunch of people who cruise by every day and they sink our ships and they attack us every day and we can't do anything." Like, I don't think that should be legit. I think that their ships should be the most powerful. I think that um, if 3 Navy ships come to your port and you're pirates, like, you should be worried because the rest of the Navy could show up. You shouldn't think, oh, this is the entire Navy. Like, that doesn't make sense. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. Yeah.
One of the I was going to float an idea by you. Something that popped in my head was I kind of think that the way that this should work is if the Navy declares war on you, um, they can do it for like a week,
Hmm.
and during that week, any PvP death by that pirate group is perma.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Um, because that makes that really puts you in like, hey, I'm going to fight because my life is more important or my freedom is more important than my life.
Yeah.
Great. You know what? I want to live. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get off of this island. I'm gonna go into hiding. After a week, you're kind of back to some freedom.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of people would hate that, but I think you really need something like that. Otherwise, it gets into the pummeling ports with ships offshore and people flying barrels, on gliders, dropping them down, all the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that I thought really. I was out of the Navy at that point, and watching streams, I was like, I'm glad I'm not really into that, in on that because it didn't look like it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But if that would play into the arms race. I mean, if the Navy is a powerful force and the pirates are gonna like fight for their lives, then they're going to try and get the best junk they possibly can, especially if they think that they're going to be declared war upon. Um, there will be a huge arms race. So
Um, true. I mean, and they're gonna fight privateers. I mean, I thought they balanced out the arms race pretty well. I think
yeah,
it's a little too much still. They could dial it back just a little bit more. Um, I would love to see just age stuff because when I was in the Navy, almost everything was aged,
yeah,
and I think it worked really well. As a trader, I know I would have hated that because it's like, you know,
yeah,
yeah, I want to move this silver. It was like, why do I need silver? I got iron, Um, I think they could dial it back a little bit, and it'll be pretty good.
yeah. I man, I like that. I like the way it rolled out slowly and things like that. I thought that was really cool. Um, but since it did roll out slowly, and since we are the players that we are, I didn't really care. Pierre wore the same clothes since the beginning, for almost the entire time. And then the only thing I upgraded was these knuckles, right? Because I was doing fist fighting because I thought it was fun. Um, and then one time, um, I got some new knuckles and I turned and I was like, Scove, can I hit you? And I forgot to ask him about this. And I hit Scove and nothing happened. And I was like, holy snap, what the heck? Um, and I realized that we had just not been paying attention and that all these people around us had like gained all this gear and stuff, and we didn't have anything. And I was like, dang, anyone could walk up and kill all of us at any time. That's crazy.
Yeah. That I mean, at the end of season 1, that was really the case. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to touch anybody.
Yeah,
Like, if you had common stuff and they had mythical gear, it I mean, it's like what they could wipe out an entire town
yeah,
and not even flinch because all that stuff was like in the 300% or whatever.
yeah,
I that was kind of something that I had to kind of struggle with in character because kind of in the end I did sort of start to become a part of it helping out Storywise Cove.
yeah,
And so it was really kind of an odd thing. And I wasn't the crafter, but I think at one point kind of have to go back and reckon a little bit with the concept of you're supplying this guy with the stuff. And it's not like he's like go out and get this, go out and get that. Cornelius was great, but as somebody who was dedicated to not hurting people, to go out and like, okay, we're
right.
gonna bring in some equipment to help you make these super death carbines. Um, I mean, it was kind of a fun sort of thought process of like, wow, maybe should I maybe not do this kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Um, balls. I had a question. I just forgot.
So ultimately, how did Splatoon work out?
It went really well. We ran into so the main issue is scoring. Because there were 900 pieces. Um, so to score the games, I had to take my headphones off and not listen to people and just count on my screen. And I'm like, what? But other than that, I think it went really well. Um, I
Yeah,
think that
that's wild. When I saw that, I was like, "Are they doing Splatoon? What?"
yeah, it was
But then
killer.
I saw I was like the big arena, and I was watching the people go through and play it, and I was like, "Yeah, how are you gonna score that? How are you gonna reset like the board?" I was like, "That seems like a lot of effort."
We did do resets during the test runs, but once we were playing, I had picked a bunch of colors that were obvious, no matter what other colors were there. So you were limited to like or maybe 7 colors total. Because if you had done like 2 types of blue, then I wouldn't have been able to tell. But it was like blue, yellow, purple, green, red, white, black, something else or something.
Okay.
Um, so we didn't have to reset each time, which was nice. And then we I had this idea for the beaters or the people who were trying to stop sprayers, but it didn't really work out. So I'm not sure what can be done for that in the future. But a lot of people told me that they like it and like, oh, you should set that up again as like a server event or something. And I was like, sure, whatever. Thank you for making it here in the snow, uphill both ways, shrimps. You didn't have to, you know. um, I I don't know. I don't know. I have a bunch of stuff written down, but I think we covered a lot of it. Um,
Oh, map size, good or bad? Um, that's a good question. Um, I like that I like how they sort of balanced out the map size by making grids that you can't build in, although
yeah,
you can build in them as much as you want, really. What I came to find out. Um, so that's good. They maybe want to increase the no build ones to try and actually make them no build to try and get people a little closer together. Um, but being able to sail outside of that closeness when you want to do something else, I do think that's kind of fun. And some of those islands are really cool. So maybe if they increase the no build ones, some more of those in, it would force people to be a little closer. It is a thing. It's always a thing in Atlas where you're like, I want to go to this port, but do I really want to sail for the next hour?
yeah,
Kind of a thing. Um, but on the flip side, sometimes that's so much fun, especially when you get some people on the ship that you like. Um, so I as annoying as it can be sometimes, I think it's overall a good size. They can maybe try and push people a little closer together.
Agree. Um, I know that you play a ton of Atlas. You play Atlas even when no one else is playing Atlas. Sometimes. Are you gonna play other stuff with Darkside, or are you just chilling on Atlas until we come back?
I was watching Arc. I never played Arc before, and I was watching Arc Genesis. I don't think so. I might do it, but it just doesn't. It's not calling out to me. I did get GTA 5 to potentially go into some GTA 5 RP, um, but that's not really calling out to me either.
Yeah.
So in many ways, I'm going to say probably not. Um, it's kind of a lot of effort to get into something new like that. But you know what? I should tell myself. You said the same thing about Atlas at first.
Yeah. Man, that is so true. I hate Arc, and I don't even know why I got. Well, I do know why I got Atlas. I got Atlas because of Pony Punch, but um, man, I started, and as you know, or as you may know, remember from the earlier, I didn't know what to do, and it felt like it was going to be the same exact startup as Arc, and I was really discouraged. And then like people started talking, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this for several thousand hours. This is yeah, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I unfortunately have a bad habit of being the doing the resource gathering RP,
Yeah.
where I have a hard time being in a company and standing around when nothing's happening. I'm always like I got to go farm stuff so that I'm being busy and contributing,
Oh
and
man.
it's not necessary. It's not necessary at all, but I
Yep.
keep. That's
We
really kind of what made the Navy for me kind of a really bad experience. I shouldn't say a bad experience. I had a lot of fun, but it ultimately drew away stuff because I was always farming materials when I really should have been trying to get to know more people.
yeah. Well, we proved that you can literally do no work at all, resource wise, and still have a moderately successful sort of small company. So there you go.
Did you guys not at all farm resources?
Nope, not a single time. Um, we we did the jobs that I mentioned earlier, and that's how we got all of our resources. Um, the that whole charity place was built using materials that, yeah, okay, after we built the bar, true, but that was the first week where you like set up things. But that whole charity
Uh,
space, I came up with the charity idea, and then we went to Rosenthorn, and I said, hey, we're starting up a charity, you guys are rich, I'll name it after you, do you want to front it? And they gave me hundreds of walls and ceilings and floors and stuff. So the charity was fake the entire time, it was a scam, but that's how we built everything. That's how we built new pieces for our ships, everything. Yep.
yeah, that's awesome. I gotta break out of that kind of feeling. I know as soon as I start playing again, it's gonna come right back to
Yeah.
me. So
I
um,
it was to the point where we didn't have you know that job I mentioned earlier where Jeffrey said the wrong name. We didn't have any flares and none of us knew how to make them. So we went to a port and we claimed that we were dock inspectors and we were trying to improve the efficiency of their port, and we wanted to make a contract with them, but the goal was flares. So we told them that we had just been pirated, and when they sailed away they fired a bunch of flares at us, and then we made up a pirate company name and we said we want to go just blast flares in their face for like 20 minutes, from a safe distance. Will you make this contract with us and give us 50 flares? And then we sailed away and we never came back.
you know, I bet that company never had the slightest idea.
Yeah.
Because why would anybody in this game think that a group of people would come up to scam them out of some flares?
And
That's
we
crazy.
we did that over and over, man. I claimed that my galleon, my crewmate's galleon was sinking, and that I had come on the schooner because we were out of repair materials, and I had these people from Goldview give me thatch and wood because we had run out, but we had plenty of fiber, so I didn't need that. And they loaded up my horse cart, and I rolled it back to my schooner and sailed it away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so. You're the anti Deckfoot, man. I spent
Yeah.
season one giving people stuff to help them out whenever I could.
Yeah. We are leeches. Leeches. That's all we did. We took.
It's a good thing, yeah, and that you never ran into Deckfoot because he would have just been kept giving you stuff, being like, these people really need help, I guess.
Well, the problem was I had this idea, and this is what I wanted to do once I gained control, and we had these people who started joining, and they wanted to work and they wanted to gather, and I kept telling them no, don't do it. Cuz that, like, we were supposed to be bums and we needed to do the jobs because it was who we were, and if they gathered we had no reason to do it. So I kept telling them don't do it.
Hmm. Well, I heard you might go Navy next season,
Yeah.
and when you go Navy, they make you. That's week one.
Yeah.
Is you're just arming stuff.
They do
I
make
mean, you
you.
know what though? You maybe they do, maybe they don't,
Yeah.
because I don't know how much like Master Overlord actually farmed.
Exactly. They assign you, but do they make you? That's the question. If you go into the woods and talk to someone for an hour and then you come back and say it's already loaded into whatever place you've loaded it into, how are they gonna know?
Well, you're gonna have Firebane coming up to you. Let me see your log.
No, not the paperwork. I'm not ready. All right. I have another one of these. So I'm gonna let you go. I also have to pee really bad because I had this tea. But as I've been saying, oh wait, hold on. I'm gonna actually check right now if you don't mind. Hold on one second.
All right.
DarksideRP.net. Are you ready for a new adventure? Yeah, man. Okay. There are officially 7,038 people registered through the forums in order to play on Darkside. Do you have anything to say to 7,000 people who are playing around you?
I'd say thanks. I've been playing video games my whole life, and I'm one of the older people, and I've never in that entire span of my life ever had so much fun as when I started playing Atlas on DSRP. A whole new life experience. It was so much fun. I look forward to the future being so much fun. And if you're wondering if you should try it, do it. It's amazing. Even if you're gonna be a wallflower like me, you can still have a lot of fun. Um, go out on a limb, you know. But no matter what happens, you're gonna have fun. And thanks for the memories. I honestly look back on Deckfoot and I go, I feel like it was almost like a separate life that I lived, just because of all the people that I interacted with. It was amazing.
Yeah. You
All
guys are
right,
great.
that's my speech there. There you go.
Yeah. Well done, everyone. All of you people, you're amazing. Um, I'm just gonna drop this stream. Um, cause I'm gonna start back up in like 8 minutes. So, yeah, thanks for being here. All of you people watching in the future. Oh yeah. By the way, this is one of those VOD viewers. Oh man. I worry so much when you tell me that junk.
Yeah, thanks for everyone in chat too. I was afraid no one was gonna show up, and I'd feel terrible. I was so nervous, and uh, I know all the like a lot of the names there are people that post up, and I know some of them from your streams, people that post in Discord, and they're really great people, and I'm glad that they came by, and all right, I'm gonna stop there because I'm starting to tear up a little bit.
You're all beautiful people.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Um, bye all you people, but not Slick because he'll still be in Discord.
All right. Thanks, Have Hearts. I really appreciate this,
Yeah,
man.
no problem.